Electric vehicles were supposed to be the future, cleaner, cheaper to run, and symbols of innovation. Automakers promised us a revolution, one where gas stations would be relics of the past and every driveway would hum with quiet electric power. But behind the shiny ads and futuristic promises lies a much harsher truth. Many EVs are already stumbling, weighed down by recalls, sky-high prices, and frustrated owners who can't find reliable charging stations. Instead of saving money, some buyers are facing shocking repair bills and resale values that plummet faster than their batteries drain. For drivers over 40, folks who've seen car fads come and go, this feels like déjà vu. Big promises, disappointing results. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on 13 electric vehicles that are already failing, and the reasons why could change the way you see the EV revolution. Number 13. Chevrolet Bolt EV. When Chevrolet launched the Bolt EV in 2016, it looked like the breakthrough America was waiting for. With over 200 miles of range, a recognizable brand name, and a price tag far below Tesla's, it was hailed as the people's E-Fi. For a moment, it even seemed like GM had stolen Tesla's thunder. But fast forward a few years, and the Bolt EV tells a very different story. One of recalls, fires, and fading consumer confidence. The Bolt's biggest problem? Its battery. General Motors had to recall every single Bolt ever produced between 2017 and 2022 due to the risk of spontaneous battery fires. Owners were told not to park in garages, not to charge overnight, and not to let the battery go below a certain percentage. Imagine buying a car marketed as convenient and worry-free, only to get a laundry list of warnings just to keep it safe in your driveway. Beyond the recalls, the Bolt struggled with perception. For older drivers, safety isn't negotiable, and headlines about cars catching fire were enough to scare off potential buyers. Even after GM fixed the batteries, the damage was done. Resale values took a nosedive, and many dealers found it hard to move new models, despite deep discounts. The Bolt also suffered from being caught between two worlds. On one hand, it wasn't luxurious enough to compete with Tesla or newer premium EVs. On the other, it was still too expensive for many working-class families. Add in limited charging infrastructure, especially in rural America, where many 40-plus drivers live, and you had a car that never quite fit the needs of its target buyers. In the end, the Bolt EV became less of a revolution and more of a cautionary tale. GM has announced plans to phase it out, focusing instead on its new Ultium platform. But for the thousands of owners burned, sometimes literally, by this affordable EV, the damage to trust may be permanent. Number 12. Nissan Leaf. When the Nissan Leaf first hit U.S. roads in 2010, it was celebrated as the world's first mass-market EV. Affordable, quirky, and eco-friendly, it gave everyday Americans the chance to ditch the pump for good. For a while, it looked like Nissan had cracked the code. Millions sold worldwide, headlines hailing it as the start of a new era, and buyers thrilled to join the EV revolution. But today, the Leaf has slipped into obscurity, and for many older drivers, it feels more like a warning than a win. The biggest problem was battery degradation. Early Leafs were notorious for losing range at alarming rates, especially in hot states like Arizona, Texas, and Florida. Owners who once had 80 to 100 miles of range suddenly found themselves struggling to get 50. And since Nissan skipped liquid cooling for its batteries, choosing air cooling to save costs, heat issues only got worse. This made long-term ownership a nightmare for buyers who wanted reliability above all. Then came the infrastructure issue. Unlike most modern EVs, the Leaf uses CHAdeMO fast charging technology, a standard that is rapidly becoming obsolete in the US as Tesla's supercharger network opens up and CCS becomes the industry norm. Leaf owners are left hunting for fewer and fewer compatible stations. For Americans over 40, especially those who travel or live outside major cities, this creates a constant headache. Resale value has also been brutal. A 5-year-old Leaf can lose up to 70% of its value, making it one of the worst depreciating cars in America. That hits especially hard for older buyers who are more cautious with big-ticket purchases. Add in limited range compared to newer competitors, and the once pioneering Leaf feels ancient in today's EV market. The sad reality? The Leaf helped start the EV movement, but it couldn't keep up. What was once revolutionary is now outdated, and for many, it's proof that being first doesn't always mean being best. Number 11. BMW i3. When BMW rolled out the i3 in 2014, it was like nothing else on the road. With its futuristic design, carbon fiber body, and eco-friendly image, the i3 looked like the perfect city car for an electric future. Reviewers praised its quirky charm, and BMW positioned it as a premium alternative to mainstream EVs like the Nissan Leaf. For a while, it attracted attention from tech-savvy early adopters. But for the majority of American buyers, especially those over 40, the i3 quickly revealed itself as more style than substance. The first problem was range. Early models barely offered 80 miles per charge, which was laughably short compared to Tesla's growing lineup. Even later versions with bigger batteries struggled to top 150 miles, making it impractical for anyone who needed flexibility. A range extender gasoline engine was offered, but it added complexity, cost, and undercut the very point of buying an EV in the first place. Then there was the price tag. At around $45,000 new, the i3 was simply too expensive for what it delivered. Buyers could get a Tesla Model 3 with nearly double the range and far better performance for about the same money. Older drivers, who tend to value practicality and comfort over flashy tech, saw little reason to take the plunge. Design was another sticking point. The i3's boxy, futuristic look divided opinion. Some loved it, but many found it odd or unattractive, especially in a market where vehicles are often emotional purchases. Add in cramped rear seats, small cargo space, and ride comfort that didn't match BMW's luxury reputation, and it became clear the i3 wasn't built for everyday American needs. Sales numbers tell the story. While BMW sold over 200,000 units globally, US buyers largely stayed away. By 2021, BMW officially ended i3 production, quietly moving on to more conventional EVs like the i4 and iX. For many, the i3 will be remembered as a bold experiment, but also as proof that flashy design and green credentials aren't enough to win over practical, seasoned drivers. Number 10. Ford Mustang Mach-E. When Ford announced the Mustang Mach-E, it made headlines everywhere. Slapping the legendary Mustang badge on an electric crossover was a bold move meant to attract attention. And it worked. At first, the Mach-E generated serious buzz, with Ford positioning it as a direct Tesla competitor. But for many American drivers, especially those over 40, the excitement faded quickly as real-world issues piled up. The first problem is quality control. Owners reported a long list of issues ranging from battery failures to software glitches, door handles freezing, and even recalls over the potential for the car to lose power while driving. For older buyers who prioritize reliability and safety, this kind of inconsistency is a deal-breaker. Ford's constant recalls have made the Mach-E feel more like an experiment than a polished product. Then comes charging and range anxiety. While the Mach-E offers up to 300 miles of range on paper, real-world numbers often fall short, especially in cold weather. And while Ford partnered with Electrify America to expand charging, the network still lags far behind Tesla's supercharger reliability. For drivers outside of major metro areas, this creates headaches, long waits, broken chargers, or stations that are simply too far apart. Another issue is identity. Traditional Mustang fans see the Mach-E as a betrayal of the brand's muscle car heritage. On the flip side, EV enthusiasts often prefer Tesla or Hyundai's Ioniq 5/6 for better tech and range. That leaves the Mach-E stuck in the middle, not fully satisfying either group. Pricing hasn't helped either. With inflation and rising EV production costs, the Mach-E often pushes well above $50,000. That's tough to justify for a vehicle with reliability concerns and questionable resale value. For many over 40 buyers, who tend to compare long-term costs closely, the math just doesn't add up. Despite Ford's heavy marketing, the Mach-E is already showing signs of struggle. Sales slowed in 2024. And Ford recently announced it would scale back EV investments to refocus on hybrids. For the Mach-E, the hype may have been bigger than the reality, leaving it as one of the most controversial Mustangs ever made. Number 9. Volkswagen ID.4. The Volkswagen ID.4 was supposed to be VW's big comeback story. After the infamous Dieselgate scandal, the company poured billions into its EV strategy, promising Americans an affordable, practical, and reliable electric SUV. On paper, the ID.4 checked a lot of boxes: roomy interior, decent range, and pricing that undercut Tesla. But in reality, the ID.4 has stumbled badly, and for many buyers, especially those over 40, it's become yet another frustrating chapter in VW's history. The first major issue has been software. From day one, owners complained about glitchy infotainment systems, random resets, and confusing menus. For older drivers who often prefer simplicity, the ID.4's clunky tech became more of a burden than a selling point. Some even reported that key vehicle functions, like driver assistance features, would crash mid-drive. That's not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Then there's charging speed. While VW promised competitive fast charging, the ID.4 often underperforms compared to rivals. Charging to 80% can take significantly longer than expected, and Electrify America's network, ironically owned by VW, has developed a reputation for unreliability. For Americans who want a road trip-ready SUV, this has been a huge letdown. Another problem is build quality. Owners have reported issues ranging from cheap interior materials to squeaks, rattles, and even failing electronic components. For buyers spending upwards of $45,000, that lack of refinement feels like a slap in the face. When you combine that with poor resale values, the ID.4 starts looking less like a family-friendly EV and more like a money pit. Finally, VW has struggled with supply and delivery problems. Long wait times and missed deadlines frustrated early adopters, and some buyers walked away entirely. In a competitive EV market where Tesla, Hyundai, and Kia are delivering solid products, VW simply hasn't kept up. The ID.4's failure stings even more because it was supposed to be the start of VW's EV revolution. Instead, it has become a cautionary tale about overpromising and under-delivering, a pattern many older drivers recognize all too well. Number 8. Tesla Model X. When Tesla unveiled the Model X, it promised to be the ultimate family EV, an all-electric SUV with insane performance, futuristic falcon wing doors, and Tesla's signature tech edge. For a while, it captured attention everywhere. It was fast, flashy, and unlike anything else on the road. But as the years rolled on, the Model X has struggled. And for many older American buyers, it's become a symbol of EV excess rather than practicality. The most infamous issue is those falcon wing doors. While they looked spectacular in marketing videos, they've been plagued by problems from the start. Owners complained about doors failing to open, sensors misreading obstacles, and painfully slow operation. For parents just trying to load groceries or kids, the wow factor quickly turned into frustration. Then there's the reliability problem. The Model X consistently ranks as one of Tesla's least reliable vehicles, with owners reporting everything from suspension failures to touchscreen malfunctions. Repair costs are notoriously high, and Tesla's service network often leaves customers waiting weeks for fixes. For drivers over 40, many of whom value consistency over flash, this is a deal-breaker. The price tag is another sticking point. Starting well over $80,000 and climbing past six figures with options, the Model X was marketed as a luxury SUV. But its fit and finish often fails to match traditional luxury brands like Mercedes or Lexus. Paying top dollar for misaligned panels and squeaky trim doesn't sit well with seasoned buyers who expect better. Resale value has also been shaky. Unlike Tesla's smaller, more affordable cars, the Model X depreciates quickly, in part because newer models keep undercutting it on performance and range. That makes it a risky investment for families hoping to stretch their dollars. Ultimately, the Model X feels like Tesla's showpiece, great for headlines, but less impressive in daily life. While some die-hard fans love it, many others see it as a flashy misstep that overpromised and underdelivered. For practical American families, the hype never translated into long-term satisfaction. Number 7. Fisker Ocean. The Fisker Ocean was marketed as a fresh, affordable alternative to Tesla and other mainstream EV's sleek styling, a California cool image, and promises of sustainable materials made it look like the EV for eco-conscious families. At launch, Fisker claimed it would deliver up to 350 miles of range at a price starting under $40,000. For buyers over 40, who remember Henrik Fisker's failed first company a decade earlier, this looked like a second chance for redemption. Unfortunately, history seems to be repeating itself. The biggest issue is Fisker's shaky execution. Deliveries of the Ocean have been plagued by delays, limited availability, and early quality complaints. Some owners have reported everything from glitchy electronics to problems with the rotating touchscreen, features that were supposed to set the Ocean apart. Instead of confidence, these stories fuel doubts about whether Fisker can survive long enough to fix them. Another problem is infrastructure and support. Fisker has no real dealership network. Cars are sold directly, and service centers are scarce. For older drivers who value reliable support and easy access to maintenance, This creates major anxiety. Unlike Tesla, which spent years building its service network, Fisker simply doesn't have the resources to keep up. Then there's financial instability. Investors and analysts have openly questioned whether Fisker can even stay afloat. In 2024, reports surfaced of cash flow problems, production shortfalls, and reliance on third-party manufacturers. For buyers who want long-term security, the fear of owning a car from a company that might not exist in 5 years is enough to walk away. Finally, while the Ocean looks stylish, it faces stiff competition. The Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia EV6, and Tesla Model Y all offer proven track records, better range reliability, and stronger support. In that comparison, the Ocean starts looking more like a gamble than a smart purchase. For many over 40 buyers, the Fisker Ocean isn't just failing. It's a reminder that flashy marketing doesn't always translate into real-world stability. Number 6. Lucid Air. When Lucid Motors launched the Air, it was hailed as a Tesla killer. Sleek, futuristic, and boasting industry-leading range, over 500 miles on some models, it looked like the luxury EV sedan everyone was waiting for. On paper, the Air had it all: cutting-edge technology, lightning-fast charging, and performance that rivaled supercars. But despite the hype, Lucid has been struggling, and the Air is quickly sliding into the failing category. The first big problem is price. With base models starting around $80,000 and premium trims soaring well into six figures, the Lucid Air immediately priced itself out of reach for most Americans. For buyers over 40, many of whom prioritize value and long-term practicality, that's a steep ask, especially from a brand-new company with no track record. Then comes delivery and production woes. Lucid has repeatedly missed production targets, leaving customers waiting months or even years for their cars. Early buyers have reported issues ranging from electrical glitches to inconsistent build quality. That's not what you want when spending luxury money. Another major hurdle is brand trust. While Tesla built its following over a decade of innovation and risk-taking, Lucid is still largely unknown outside of car enthusiast circles. Many older buyers hesitate to spend luxury-level money on a car from a company that may not even exist in 5 years. And with Lucid's stock price tumbling and reports of financial struggles, those fears aren't unfounded. Charging infrastructure is another challenge. Unlike Tesla, Lucid has no dedicated network. Owners must rely on third-party chargers, which can be unreliable. For seasoned drivers used to the convenience of gas stations or even Tesla's superchargers, the patchy infrastructure makes long trips stressful. Finally, the Air faces stiff competition. The Mercedes EQS, BMW i7, and even Tesla's own Model S provide similar luxury EV experiences with stronger brand reputations. In that field, Lucid looks like an underdog without enough staying power. The Lucid Air may be technologically impressive, but in the real world, it's proving too expensive, too risky, and too unproven to win over mainstream American buyers. Number 5. Rivian R1T. When Rivian debuted the R1T, it was hailed as a game-changer, the first real electric pickup truck to hit the U.S. market. With rugged looks, off-road capability, and clever features like the gear tunnel and camp kitchen, it promised to combine adventure with sustainability. For a brief moment, it looked like Rivian had captured lightning in a bottle. But as deliveries began, reality set in, and today, the R1T is struggling to keep its early momentum. The biggest hurdle is price creep. Originally marketed as a sub-$70,000 adventure truck, the R1T now pushes well past that mark once options are added. For buyers over 40, many of whom grew up equating pickups with practicality and durability, that's a tough pill to swallow. Spending luxury car money on a truck that's still largely unproven feels like a gamble. Then there's production and availability. Rivian has been plagued by delays, supply chain issues, and limited output. Customers often wait months or even years for their trucks, and the company has struggled to meet demand. That makes older, experienced buyers wary. They've seen startups come and go before, and patience wears thin quickly. Another issue is real-world reliability. Early owners have reported problems with fit and finish, software glitches, and in some cases, significant mechanical issues. Rivian's service network is still very limited, so when something goes wrong, help isn't always nearby. For buyers used to Ford or Chevy's nationwide support, that's a major red flag. The R1T also suffers from identity confusion. It's positioned as both a lifestyle vehicle and a work truck, but it doesn't fully satisfy either camp. Hardcore truck buyers often see it as too fragile and too expensive, while EV enthusiasts are increasingly drawn to alternatives like the Ford F-150 Lightning or even Tesla's Cybertruck. Add in Rivian's shaky financial outlook, and the R1T starts to look less like the future of trucks and more like a risky experiment. For older Americans, many of whom prize stability, the Rivian R1T is already showing cracks beneath its shiny exterior. Number 4. Jaguar I-Pace. When Jaguar launched the I-Pace in 2018, it made history as one of the first true luxury EVs on the market. Sleek design, impressive performance, and a premium badge gave it instant appeal. It even won multiple Car of the Year awards, and some predicted it could challenge Tesla's dominance. But today, the I-Pace is struggling badly, and for many older American buyers, it has become a cautionary tale about buying into hype too soon. The first major problem is range and efficiency. On paper, the I-Pace offers around 230 miles of range. In real-world conditions, especially in colder climates, that number can drop significantly. Compared to Tesla and newer EV rivals that easily clear 300 miles, Jaguar's offering feels outdated. For buyers over 40, who often place a premium on practicality and long-distance reliability, that's a big deal. Then there's charging speed. While competitors continue pushing the limits of ultra-fast charging, the I-Pace lags behind. Road trips become stressful, with longer charging stops and fewer compatible stations. For seasoned drivers used to quick gas fill-ups, the inconvenience adds up fast. Another issue is software and infotainment. Early I-Pace owners complained about buggy systems, frozen screens, and clunky updates. Jaguar has made improvements over the years, but the reputation for glitchy tech stuck. For older drivers, who often prefer user-friendly simplicity, this made the car frustrating rather than futuristic. The price tag has also been a stumbling block. With an MSRP north of $70,000, the I-Pace competes directly with Tesla's Model X, BMW's iX, and Mercedes's EQS SUV. But with weaker range, slower charging, and fewer support options, it struggles to justify its luxury-level price. Finally, sales have collapsed. In the US, the I-Pace has seen dwindling demand year after year, with many dealers slashing prices just to move inventory. Rumors swirl about Jaguar cutting back its EV plans altogether, leaving potential buyers nervous about long-term support. For many over 40 buyers, the Jaguar I-Pace represents exactly what they fear about EVs: big promises, big price tags, and disappointing results. Number 3. Tesla Cybertruck. Few vehicles in history have generated as much buzz as the Tesla Cybertruck. Unveiled in 2019 with its futuristic angular design and Elon Musk's bold promises, it was supposed to redefine what a truck could be. Bulletproof glass, stainless steel exoskeleton, lightning-fast performance. It sounded like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Hundreds of thousands of pre-orders poured in. But now that the Cybertruck is finally hitting American roads, reality is setting in. And it's not pretty. The first and most obvious issue is design practicality. While the sharp, stainless steel body grabs attention, it creates headaches in the real world. Insurance companies are already warning that repairs will be expensive, while some owners are finding that car washes and garages aren't even equipped to handle the Cybertruck's size and shape. For older buyers who value practicality over flash, this is a red flag. Then there's quality and reliability. Early deliveries have been plagued with complaints about misaligned panels, rattling interiors, and software glitches. Some owners have even reported steering issues and unexpected breakdowns. For drivers over 40, many of whom equate Tesla with cutting-edge tech, the Cybertruck's rough rollout looks like a rushed experiment rather than a finished product. The price is another sore point. Initially hyped as a $39,900 truck, the actual starting price ended up closer to $60,000, with higher trims running well into six figures. Combine that with questionable practicality, and it feels more like a toy for tech enthusiasts than a workhorse for everyday Americans. Another big issue is market fit. Traditional truck buyers, many of them over 40, value durability, towing, and service support. The Cybertruck's flashy design doesn't win them over, while EV fans increasingly find better value in models like the Ford F-150 Lightning or Rivian R1T. That leaves the Cybertruck in an awkward middle ground. For all its hype, the Tesla Cybertruck is already showing signs of failure. Overpromised, overpriced, and under-delivering where it matters most. Number 2. GMC Hummer EV. When GM revived the Hummer name as an all-electric supertruck, it was meant to signal the future of American muscle. With over 1,000 horsepower, insane acceleration, and off-road tricks like crab walk, the Hummer EV looked like the ultimate blend of power and technology. For many, it was a symbol that even gas-guzzling legends could go green. But in practice, the Hummer EV has quickly become one of the most impractical electric vehicles on the road. The biggest issue is weight and size. The Hummer EV tips the scales at over 9,000 pounds, heavier than most heavy-duty trucks. That makes it clumsy to drive, hard to park, and even riskier in accidents. For older buyers who value comfort, safety, and ease of use, this truck feels more like a tank than a daily driver. Then there's efficiency, or lack of it. Despite having a massive 200 kilowatt-hour battery, the Hummer EV only manages around 300 miles of range. That might sound competitive, but when you realize smaller EVs get nearly the same range with half the battery size, it starts to look absurd. Charging that giant battery also takes significantly longer, making road trips a nightmare. The price tag is another hurdle. With models running well over $100,000, the Hummer EV is squarely in luxury territory. But instead of refinement, owners often get a truck that feels excessive and wasteful. For buyers over 40, many of whom lived through the original Hummer era, it feels like déjà vu, a flashy, oversized status symbol that misses the point. Practicality is nearly non-existent. The payload capacity is surprisingly low for its size. Resale values are uncertain, and many charging stations can't even handle its sheer bulk. In short, it's a truck that tries to do everything but doesn't really excel at anything. The Hummer EV might turn heads, but it's already failing to win hearts and wallets, especially among practical American buyers. Number 1. Chevy Silverado EV. When GM announced the Chevy Silverado EV, it was supposed to be the people's electric truck, the all-American workhorse reimagined for the future. Built on GM's Ultium platform, it promised over 400 miles of range, massive towing capability, and all the utility that made the Silverado name iconic. For older American buyers who grew up with Silverados in their driveways, it looked like a logical step into the EV world. But instead of being a breakthrough, the Silverado EV is already struggling badly. The first problem is weight and size. Like the Hummer EV, the Silverado EV is enormous, over 8,000 pounds in some trims. That weight eats into practicality, making it harder to maneuver, less efficient, and more punishing on tires and brakes. For many over 40 buyers who want a dependable truck for daily use, the Silverado EV feels like overkill. Then there's the charging challenge. While GM boasts fast charging speeds, real-world tests show inconsistencies. Filling a 200 kilowatt-hour battery isn't quick, and with public charging networks still unreliable in many areas, long trips become frustrating. Older drivers, who are used to gas trucks refueling in minutes, find this particularly discouraging. Pricing hasn't helped either. While GM initially hinted at a $39,900 starting price, the reality is much different. Most Silverado EV trims cost $70,000 and up, putting them far beyond reach for the average American family. For many buyers, that feels like a bait and switch. Another issue is identity confusion. Traditional Silverado owners often view it as too futuristic and impractical, while EV enthusiasts gravitate toward Teslas or Rivians. That leaves the Silverado EV caught in a no-man's land. Too expensive for mainstream truck buyers, too conventional for tech-driven early adopters. Finally, GM's track record with EV rollouts, including the disastrous Bolt recall, has shaken consumer confidence. Many over 40 buyers simply don't trust GM to deliver long-term reliability in an EV package. Instead of leading the electric truck revolution, the Silverado EV is already being written off by critics as overpriced, overweight, and underwhelming, a classic case of hype colliding with reality. The EV revolution was supposed to change everything, but as we've seen, not every electric car is built to last. From recalls and poor reliability to sky-high prices and charging nightmares, these 13 models prove that hype doesn't always equal success. For drivers over 40, the lesson is clear. Do your homework before making the switch, and don't let big promises blind you to real-world problems. Some EVs will thrive, but many are already failing. Which one do you think will survive the next decade? Let us know in the comments below.